Okay. I don't have that. I don't have that resolution for executive session.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. I stuck it in there.
Okay. Let me find it.
There it is.
Thank you. Okay. I will call to order the Thursday, May 17, 2018 regular Board of Selectmen meeting to order at 7:02. If we could have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to postpone the EMS committee till July 7th, or June 7th, I'm sorry, it's getting a little long. Seeing nobody else here. I'd like to add to the agenda to go into executive session at the end, move to add executive session to the agenda for the purpose of discussing a preliminary draft of an agreement between the town and the state of Connecticut Department of Developmental Services that was previously discussed in executive session on May 3rd, 2018, and for the reasons cited in the Board of Selectmen March 8th, 2018 minutes. The Board of Selectmen again determines that the public interest in withholding such documents from public discourse outweighs the public's interest in disclosure, and to invite attorney Jeff Tinley, Tim Baldwin, and Cindy Harrison to join them. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Made and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Announcements and correspondence.
Public comment?
Oh, public comment. There's no, thank you, no public comment. Announcements and correspondence. You have that in front of you. Reports. You have in front of you any questions? We have the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda that you have a question on? I'll entertain a motion.
To approve. Second.
Made and seconded. Any discussion on it? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposition? Any abstentions? We're good. Minutes, May 3rd, 2018.
Move we approve the May 3rd, 2018 regular meeting minutes.
Thank you. Made and seconded.
I'll have to recuse myself and no one there.
Okay. Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Carried. All right. Transfers. Do we have transfers? I don't think we do.
There's some for the next meeting, Jeff, just for information only.
This is informational only, okay? Bill is not here. Any questions on it? FYI?
Next meeting.
Okay, we'll do that next meeting. Do you want to tackle the unfinished business charter revision tonight? I prefer not.
It doesn't seem to make sense.
Okay.
We're still waiting on background information for some of the
Background,
candidates.
more information.
Yeah,
but
and I think
it's still on there.
there are more important things to be focused on right now before we start the clock.
Move we postpone any discussion on that?
So move. I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And it carries. Okay, municipal solid waste disposal. John?
Yep.
Is Jeff Tinley still here?
Yeah,
Yes, he is.
You might be useful for this.
definitely.
As you know, our MSW disposal, we had a 1-year extension. So again, here we are come to June 30th when the current, where we're going right now to Covanta expires. I did an extensive exploratory as to all the other different group of communities that are delivering MSW, where they're going with it. I think if you went down to the second page,
John, is this the same memo you gave us previously?
No,
No, that was
That
recycling.
was recycling, this is MSW. So this was sent out to you probably Monday.
Did I get it?
It's on the website. Or no, it was in the email.
Email.
I may not have seen it, sorry.
So, in any case, your big players is, currently we're going to Covanta, which is located in Bristol. The other big players is Wheel Grader down in Bridgeport, and there's a Bridgeport interlocal group, that's combined, they have about 175,000 tons aggregate. They're in it was a 20-year contract that, I guess they're in about their fourth year, that ends in, 2034. So similar to how I was discussing with the recycling one, where you join the interlocal, then the interlocal has a contract with the vendor. In this case, the vendor is Wheelbury Bridgeport. Their current price right now is $62. The 10 cents is what they call an adder fee, which is for the consortium, if you want to call it that way. That's so that they have some funds available for any legal reviews, or if they have to get a lobbyist for a law issue. That's pretty much it. Their increase is 75% of the CPI. So this year, you figure about 75 cents added to the 62, which would be 62.75. You add about 10 cents, which they'll probably keep you about 10 cents. You're around to almost up to $63. I rounded to 63. This next line down there, you see $70. That's our. I went back to Covanta and said, okay, what's it going to be if I ask for a 1-year extension? If we decide not to join that group, and we're still trying to figure out where we want to go. Originally back in March, they were telling us we can't guarantee that we can accept your waste to come here, which kind of generated a lot of this search, that I had at least 8 places to go. I followed up again about a couple weeks ago. Covanta said that he'd allow us to bring it in for another year at the $70 rate. I talked with, at the Big Mirror, who's the third one. That's out of Hartford. They actually gave a presentation to the COG, North Valley COG. They're saying it's about $74. They have a lot of other issues that goes along with that. There's a minimum commitment that you have to give to them. They're trying to work with a developer to refinance the entire project because they do a lot of overhauls. They have their true disposal fees, probably about $94, but they basically offset some of that because of some income they get from microturbines that they have up there. And you'd be joining a long-term contract with them, and it would probably be going up. I personally don't feel as confident joining that group at this time. And plus it's more expensive. Houston Regional Resource Group, they reached out to me. Their current contract is with Winter Brothers at Danbury, which is close. This year, for FY19, it's an $87.47 tip fee. Next year, it starts a 5-year contract at $85. One thing I don't like about that is that you're paying $85 for a tip fee. We'd be hauling from our transfer station to Danbury, then they dump it on the ground, and then you turn around, you pay them, I guess the transfer fee of $8.76 to put into another trailer, then transport it all the way back down to Bridgeport. When you're done with it, you're up to, like I said, $85, $87.
So they're like a middleman? They're like a middleman?
Right now,
Little bit.
right now they have a contract. Winter Brothers has a contract with Wheelbury to be able to do a tonnage there.
Got it.
In any case, if you're looking at the 87 or next year the 85, you're still paying more than what we have, because on top of that you have to add the transportation costs. Bristol Recovery, they had a fairly decent price. They take it to the Bridgeport Regional, to the Covanta, where our garbage is currently going. They have a minimum commitment. It's subject to Covanta saying, yes, we'll accept you to be able to join that group. So, I mean, it's like saying, okay, you won't let us come to you directly, but I don't see any benefit for them to allow us to join the group if they want to charge us $70 a ton financially. Plus, for us to join that group, each town would have to go back to their individual board of selectmen or legal authorization and get it, which is a very cumbersome item. Then they have their attorneys reviewing it. I don't know if we have fees so that they can approve it. So that's why I kind of moved them out. So if you go down to the bottom line there, those are your 4 main items, your 4 main options. You join your Bridgeport group with the tip fee included is the cheapest. I'm throwing out there about 5,500 tons, which I think it looks like will be close to this year to delivering. That would be your yearly cost. If we went back to Covanta and said, okay, we'll pay you your $70 tip fee plus the $12.50 that it costs for us to take it there, that we pay our hauler, it's about $21,000 more a year. Those are your 2 real options to do. So now you got to turn around and say, do you want to get involved in an interlocal group to last you to 2034, or do you want to just extend this for a year? If you go with the 1-year extension, what I'd probably do is ask Covanta to release, so I don't have to do this again next May, June, or whatever. I mean, what would it be if I did it for 2 years or 3 years? Is what I'd like to come back to. Covanta needs to have, and I'm not trying to force something on you and make a decision. Covanta needs to have an answer by May, the end of May here, the 25th, just so that they lock up their funds.
Sure.
They're trying to lock it up and say, look, if you're not going, we'll offer to you. If you're not going to do it, then I got to go get some of my time shots. The Bridgeport group, you would have to approve the ability for us to enter into an agreement with them, and then they have a meeting in the 3rd week in June with their board. They only meet twice a year, June and December. It's basically made up of all the chief officials of each municipality, and then they would agree to let us to enter. Our attorney, Jeff Tinley, looked at it. I gave him the information I have here, as well as with the contracts for joining the interlocal and the contract between the interlocal and Wheelbridger. He has some very good concerns of joining that group. I'll let him speak for himself since he's more eloquent than I am. My recommendation was to say, I'm looking for the dollars. My job is to find the best options for you, present them to you with the pros and the cons. The pros for Bridgeport, it's cheaper, about $21,500 cheaper a year. The con is now you're getting into a long-term commitment of joining that group, which you may not want to do. The pro for Covanta, it's going there now. It's a simple thing until you go there. The con is, well, how often are we going to keep doing it because it's $21,000 more.
Do we get an option to go back into Bridgeport in a year or so?
Bridgeport will
Always
welcome
be.
us down the line, I'm sure. Last year, I was looking at this real quick, and, the incentive for Bridgeport to get other tonnages, they deliver 175,000 tons a year. For every 25,000 tons in addition, it drops their tip fee $1. So now we're pivots, we're 5,500 tons. I mean, they're looking for like a Stanford or Greenwich that might have 20,000, 30,000 to join in. Or they have to get a bunch of small towns to join in to get up to 25,000 to drop it. But yes, they are willing to entertain us next year if we want to try and join them next year.
Before we get into the issues with the interlocal, just looking at the numbers, I know you said the Bristol one is difficult, but with the lower haul fee, it seems that that's another $20,000 savings below the.
The haul fee is, a little bit less if you look up there because it's going to Covanta, it's going the same spot. I took into account the total cost of where they're at now.
It's in built into that. Right, John?
Yes, on the bottom there is.
It's built in.
I didn't actually give you, at the very bottom of this, I didn't give you the first one.
Right.
It's basically $64.37. And then you'd add the hall fee that we're currently paying, which is about $12.50. So you're at,
I see.
$76.
77, yeah.
I was looking at the Danbury Hall fee.
So you're close to,
It's not that far off.
yeah, it's not a huge savings just to go through that effort. And like I said, at the end of the day, Covanta still has to say, okay, yeah, we'll let you join us.
What was the contractual time span with Covanta? 3 year?
Covanta originally had, it was in 2012, they had a 2012? It was, I think a 2012, they had a 4-year contract that went to 2016. They had the options of continuing for 2 more 4-year extensions. So you're kind of almost locking into them for 12 years if you want, if mutually agreed. At 2016, Covanta said, no, we do not want to lock in and continue that item.
Well, because they gave up, they didn't have enough space for us.
Because they didn't know how much space they had.
But-
So at that point in time, we said, well, okay, we understand that. Plus, they didn't want to be involved in recycling also. So we were taking it to Winter Brothers directly anyway, so we cut them out and we actually were making a few dollars more.
Well, if that MSW hauler could do it for 4 years, 5 years, or 4 2-year terms or whatever, why does the, forgive my ignorance, but why does the interlocal lock us in for so much longer, either both the MSW and the recycling? Why are they for decades as opposed to,
Because then you have a surety of where you're going with your garbage. A lot of this stuff also goes, in fact, we were talking about where you have, before there was issues with flow control, they're kind of resolved a bit. There are issues with where to go with the garbage. For a while there, Covanta was actually, Covanta had an outage for, I think, about 2 months where they were going through and having to redo their equipment. So they're diverting the MSW. We were actually taking it over to Danbury, dumping it on the ground, having it sent down to, we were actually doing that. Covanta was picking up that extra cost, that loss, while it was down. So it's, to lock in, you kind of say, okay, we know we have a place that we know where we can go. We can go on our own, 5 years, 3 years. One of the things that if you go to the top, that I threw in there is, right there, that's good. If you see there, it says MSW Winter Brothers, haul and dispose. One of the things that, because I knew I was gonna be getting to this point, when we went out for the hauler bid for the at the transfer station, that was opened in October 2017, I threw in there options of saying, instead, I understand it's a haul and bid, but I'll also entertain a haul and dispose of. From that, Winter Brothers was the cheapest with a $92 per ton. There was others bidders that bid $100 a ton. I don't know if anyone was about 105. That's from the October 2017 haulers bid. So that was an option because I wanted to, I think, heck, I'm putting out a bid on, these are the same players, and we find out for them to dispose of. Some towns will have items where they took their garbage and they put it on a rail car and sent it out to Pennsylvania, Ohio. Things change. Your cost of fuel to ship or truck or whatever. Your landfills start to close up, and you start, where do you go with your garbage? So, and like I said, here we were with Covanta, and back in March, February, March, they were telling us, we don't want your garbage anymore, you go find a place. So that's, taking that all into effect. That's why their interlocals saying, we don't want you doing this every 3 years, 5 years. Let's get a long-term agreement so that we get the best price, and know that we're done with this thing. And just look at it every 5 years when they renew the contract.
21,500 a year is not insignificant. It's not like lost in the.
I'm not sure about that, and I really would like to hear from Jeff, primarily because I remember when we were talking about the recycling interlocal contract, one of the concerns was we had no control, and it could change at any time, and we are a small player, so our influence would be pushed to the side, and to have full control of our contract, and to have, whether it be legal recourse or other recourse, if something does go wrong, $21,000 might be nothing in the long run. So I, if one thing I wish we had was a 2 or 3 year agreement with Covanta to look at what they'd be looking at over that period. If they can lock in a rate, and we have a rate to budget, and we know that over time it might not be that much more, yet we have full control over the contract. So that I would like to hear from Jeff on. But my second point before Jeff goes is, what is the form of disposal? Covanta in Bristol, where we go now, is a trash to energy facility.
Correct.
Are they all ending up there, or are there other forms of disposal in terms of how they're doing it? Are they being landfilled, or Covanta's burnt to energy?
Of the options that are there, obviously we're going to Covanta,
Right.
Bridgeport Recycling, Bristol Group, that, they're going to Covanta.
Right, so that's burnt to energy.
The Bridgeport Group is going to Wheelbrae, that's trash to energy.
It is trash to energy,
there.
okay.
The Hartford Group is, they have a plant up there, it's an old plant, it needs a lot of work on it.
Yep.
And there's a lot of questions going forward with the tipsies up there, but originally that was a, trash to energy plant also. I think, I'm not positive, so I'm a little reluctant to say, but I think when we had some issues, then they were trucking it up to Massachusetts, out of state to address their inability to handle the tonnage, overflow of tonnages at the times. The HRA group eventually ends up in the Bridgeport trash to energy plant.
Okay.
Just goes through the dam.
It ends up in Wheelbrae.
Transfer stations.
I'd like to hear from Jeff.
Okay, any other questions of John right now? Okay, Jeff.
And
Oh,
like I say, we're kind of, I'm not trying to force it, put a gun to yourself,
Yeah.
but
We don't meet before the
The
25th.
25th is when you
we,
need our
we,
answer.
you can make the decision any way you want, I don't have a problem with it. I'm here to presenting the facts, the figures to you, I just need to get a direction and approve as to which way I go.
Thanks, John.
And with that, I'll let Jeff, shoot my thing apart.
Thanks, John.
Nice to Jeff.
I think John's done a great job of pulling this together and presenting your alternatives to you. I do have concerns with the interlocal agreement. It is a close cousin to the recycling contract that I commented on previously. It does lock you until 2024 with an extension to 2034. You don't have control as with the other contract. In theory, you can ask for permission to get out, but they can condition your getting out on determining the time, breakage costs, damage, and other matters, and they can't let you out through the breach of any disposal agreement. Because the agreement is in parallel with the Wheelabrator contract, you would be in breach of the disposal agreement with Wheelabrator if you try to get out early. Because what you're really doing is you're really contracting with Wheelabrator. In fact, the Wheelabrator contract that's parallel to this says that Wheelabrator can enforce the contract against each of the towns if they breach directly. So it's really a contract with Wheelabrator. And as far as why the 10 years or 20 years, my guess is that Wheelabrator is a big outfit. It probably helps them a great deal with their financing, with financial markets, to have guaranteed 10-year cash flow with an escalator of 75% of the CPI. Now, it's big business, it's big finance, as opposed to some of the other arrangements. There are some provisions in this contract that are a little hard to comprehend. There's a definition of the GBR SWILC, the interlocal fee, which is defined to mean a per-ton fee established by the interlocal from time to time, written notice of which is given to Wheelabrator at least 60 days prior to its effectiveness. So So, and that fee is held by Wheelabrator. And under 3.06, if you go to G, you'll see the GW, GDR, and SW, ILC fee. There it is. A per ton fee established by them from time to time. So what is it? And it's supposed to be a small fee, just like administrative costs, legal fees. But, you know, it also kind of has the look of a slush fund of some sort, because it's not defined. And it goes to Wheelabrator, and under 3.06, it says it's held by Wheelabrator and distributed to the committee from time to time at its request. That's as much as they tell you about how it's used. And then in 4.06, Wheelabrator is also responsible to pay what's called, quote, host community benefits, close quote, to Bridgeport, which they say consists of taxes, impositions, charges, fees, tariffs, in-kind benefits, or otherwise. But that's what those payments are. You see another thing that, because it's so ill-defined, it causes discomfort. And you can say, well, you know, you're all in the same boat, you're all municipalities, there should be some trust, that's fine. But they don't trust you to stay in, they want to lock you in for a decade. And, you know, and they don't trust you to let you have control or to let you get out if you want to get out. But they want to have these provisions in the agreement which maybe would never be abused, but seem to be opportunities for abuse potential.
I think we're very trusting people here in Southbury, but.
The interlocals seem to be identical to the recycling, which we had concerns on just not that long ago. I had a question for you, Jeff, about a comment you made in the opinion that you provided on that agreement. And you said the history of intermunicipal agreements, as you know, is not great. I'm just wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Well, that comment is based upon my personal experience. A number of years ago, when the CRRA was established, they were a new quasi-governmental agency. Didn't have staff, didn't have infrastructure. So they went to the water company in Hartford and said, well, you've got all this infrastructure and facilities. You run these transfer stations for us at your cost, right? And some number of years later, they had a dispute about what you mean by cost. And it turned out, went to arbitration. I was on the panel of arbitrators with a retired judge and another lawyer. And one side was saying, you owe me $20 million. And they had these big accounting firms that did audits, forensic audits. And the other side said, no, you owe me $10 million. So we have two governmental, quasi-governmental agencies supposed to be helping one another out. And they end up fighting like cats and dogs over money and, you know, $30 million apart on what it is, what the cost is. The other thing we know is that CRA has had a track record where it lost, I forget how many millions of dollars investing in Enron. They got all this money from the towns and they invested it. Again, it was the thing the towns didn't have the control. It was this agency that had the control, and they invested in Enron, lost I think $20 million. So it just seems like whenever you collect together this kind of control, things happen that are not good.
Okay. Any other questions of Jeff about this? Thank you, Jeff. So I think, John, I think the town, we're looking for a direction.
I would make a motion that we remain with Covanta for the one-year term and give authority to John to try to negotiate that to be a two-year term with Covanta.
Can we modify it 2 or 3?
Yeah,
Yeah,
a multi-year. Yeah, I'd
Multi-year
say a
contract.
multi-year term.
Made and seconded. Can we have a discussion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's too broad of a grant of authority to the Public Works Director to negotiate a 3-year contract on behalf of the town. I think that you have to come back to us to discuss a greater than 1 year commitment and what those prices would be in those other years. And, you know, we could always have a special meeting to do that if it's necessary before May 25th. But I don't think we don't know what those numbers are or what those terms would be. So I think I'd be uncomfortable having it that open-ended.
I was assuming he would come back to us with whatever we agreed to before we voted.
Right, I mean,
So we'd have, if that's the case, then I think we need to be more, we'll have to say that
so
in the
if the motion,
motion.
all right, so I'll modify my motion.
Well, before we modify it, my concern is that they need to get an answer. John, is it in talking with these people about the contract, I'm just concerned with everything going on, getting back here.
By the 25th,
I'm sorry. I'll apologize right now. Today is the 17th.
It'll be
17th.
after the next meeting. So I don't have a problem to say, okay, look, we want to lock in with 1 year. But I'd like to be multi-year. Would you feel comfortable with 2 years, 3 years, not to exceed 5 years? I'm not sure what your upper threshold is. But I can turn around and say, okay, I'm definitely for the 1 year. I understand I'm paying the 70, but what can I lock in for the next couple of years that I can bring back to the board for approval? So that I'm not, like, this was a 5% increase.
Let me just say, if you want to give John some parameters for negotiation, we could do that in executive session, rather than do it on the record, in which case.
it's negotiations.
Not much of a negotiation.
So can we, why don't we withdraw this motion and we will come back after executive. We can also, we'll have to add to the agenda to enter an executive session to discuss
Negotiations.
negotiations
Potential
of the Covanta contract. Do I have a motion? Well, we have to clear this
So
up
moved to
first.
add it to the agenda.
I'll second that motion, but
Well, we're
we still
still
have a motion
discussing
on the
though.
table.
But
so.
Correct.
we're still discussing the one motion, so
Yeah.
if I may. Is there,
Well,
is there?
wait, we gotta start.
I
First-
withdraw my
Yeah, so
motion.
withdraw his
Withdraw the motion. You want to withdraw?
I want to stick with the motion that I
So
had
for
on
the sake of
table.
discussion.
I was still discussing that motion, sorry.
Okay, so we're still discussing.
I have no idea where we are. I just
Yeah.
know that. I need to ask you the
Betsy,
question.
you getting all this?
If we, just make it up.
It's on tape.
What's the likelihood of them committing to 2 years at that price?
To hold the price, I don't know. You're competing, when I was talking to him back in February, we're competing with the Hartford market, which is a higher expense, especially with the Hartford plant, with their issues and where they're going in their future. That's kind of like what I was saying, why the advantage of locking in for long terms is, Hartford, they're trying to redo their plant. If that fails, we've already had a couple of plants from the original 20, 30 years ago. There used to be a Wallingford plant that's now turned into a transfer station. There's
Wallingford, Covanta had a Wallingford plant, yeah, they should.
so
And
you
a lot
start
of-
reducing down to how many actual trash and energy plants you have. That's why people will say, we want to lock in on tons. I don't know if they'll agree to multi-year. I don't know if they'll agree to hold it for
Right.
multi-year. I have to actually ask about that. Like I say, last time, I think it was like a 4% increase, this was a 5% increase, but he did make it very clear, you're dealing with the Hartford market, that's gonna be up to in the high 80s.
How long a relationship have we had with Covanta? Sorry.
I think since 2012, when they did the.
So that was our first inter-
2012? Yeah, it might have been 2012. I have to look up.
So we don't have a long history.
Has it been a
Okay.
generally
Right.
positive relationship?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
My dealings with them when they came in were positive. They understood the market, they explained why they couldn't continue with it, and they were right. I mean, because of
Didn't have space for us.
the market and what's going on, so,
so, I can't say we will go with it.
Right.
I think we're a good customer to them. It's not like they're gonna shut the door, they've been extending it for us at least.
Yeah.
instead of shutting
For a
the
year
door.
now.
And that
Yeah,
Hartford
for a year.
facility, that Hartford facility was acquired at the, end of last year by some Spanish company that supposedly is putting $300 million into doing it if it gets approved. I know the Hartford mayor is against that, but,
There's a lot of issues with it, and there's, like I said, their price of, they go to presentation at the COG, and, their price, it's kind of a subsidized price of that they're offering now, because they're getting an income from generation of electric, which is expected to expire in 2021 or something, 23. So the true price is probably $90 to $100 a ton. And then, so if that true price is that, then we got Covanta saying, well, those towns from Hartford, I'm halfway there.
Right.
So whether they come to Covanta or they go up to Hartford, they're gonna look, that's gonna increase that market.
Okay, thanks, John.
So we have the motion on the floor.
We had a
We can
second.
withdraw it? What do we want to do with it?
her motion has to be.
Jennifer's motion.
I'm happy to withdraw my motion.
Okay, motion withdrawn. So,
Another motion.
we will have an executive session on that discussion.
We have to add it to executive session.
Go ahead.
Make a motion to add an executive session to the end of our agenda on the Covanta contract negotiations.
I'll second.
Made in second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Do we also need to add to the agenda, or can we refer back to the municipal solid waste after the executive session? I don't know if we technically.
Right, so we
Yes,
can,
We
yes.
could, we could come back
We
to
can do
it.
that without a problem. Okay,
Right.
want to make sure everybody's happy. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
You may
Go home.
stick around till we go back.
I'm not leaving.
We'll go.
If I leave, it's here, it's up to
Next
the-
time, we're having him drop
Go
a
to the
cot
senior
off
center,
for
get a
us. Okay. I think, next on the agenda is emergency disaster funds. I have a resolution. Do we have a resolution on that?
So,
I'll entertain a motion. That's the 166 less the 5 less the 166, the balance, what we talked about before.
I'll move to approve the resolution as written.
I'll second.
Made and seconded. Open up for discussion on it.
Do we really need all that money, you think, or are we gonna come in?
It's unknown. This is, yes?
We need to maybe change where you're taking the money from.
It's up to the Board of Finance to decide
Yeah.
where that money comes from.
They made a recommendation, at the emergency meeting we had yesterday, the Board of Finance made a recommendation to us as
Take it from
to where the money should come from, and I thought they said the undesignated fund
That's
balance.
what they said.
They also mentioned that they can clean out some of the lines out of the budget so that it doesn't.
Right.
I
So,
think- I
to
think we
George's
should-
point, and this is just a question of, it's similar question I brought up yesterday, different context, is the timing of the expenditure and the appropriation, and at what point we need to make the appropriation. We obviously, I mean, we're not meeting again for like 3 weeks, so there's, a lot of time before we meet unless we have a special meeting or something, and I assume we have no idea at this point what types of funds are going to be needed to deal with the emergency, but just following up on what George's point is, like, do we have any sense of what we'll need, or the timing, or whether it all needs to be appropriated at this point in time?
Well, we don't know the total appropriation, but I do need funds to operate.
And I would say, and in the emergency session, we had this discussion. I think that, I don't think it's a relevant part of the conversation at this stage. I think we need to, we have a responsibility to authorize it, as we've said in that emergency session with the Board of Finance. We're gonna have to spend what is needed to be spent. This gives us up to the 500,000 in total, the 166 that was we already allocated on Wednesday, I guess it was Wednesday. And brings it up to there. It doesn't mean, I trust that if we don't have to spend it, it won't be spent, but it gives the first selectman the flexibility to not have to, and it gives our emergency operations folks the flexibility to not have to come back and to be able to make decisions or question whether or not they can do this when time is of the essence. So I'm comfortable here, whether the language on the fund balance or the account, I think we did talk about that, but if we're not sure, I do think we might consider making some amendment to the language here to provide that flexibility so we don't have to come back again or have another emergency meeting. To Jason's point on yesterday, we wanted to do this in a public forum. So I just want to make sure that we get that language right so there's no ambiguity.
I think that what we're talking about here, we do have to, and I have to, we're starting to make calls, and Scott will go over what we're doing and where we are at. But yeah, the money's gonna have to start being spent because we're entering into different, we're looking to bring in crews, we're looking to do some other cleanup. So, if I may, you made your original motion, if you withdrew it, what I'd like to do is say, appropriation of such funding, hereby authorize the appropriation of funding up to $334,000 for the declared emergency, such funding to be taken. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting I'm just a little tired.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at here is how about, and such funding to be determined by the Board of Finance. And the reason I say that is they will do their job of making sure we come out of this in the right accounts.
From an account determined by the Board of Finance.
If you're comfortable with that. I mean, it's gonna come from somewhere where it comes from, but they do what they do and make sure that it's.
Let them decide where it comes from.
Yep.
So you withdraw that? Okay. So I would say a motion that the Southbury Board of Selectmen, in accordance with section 703-C of the Southbury Charter, hereby authorize the appropriation of funding up to $334,000 for the declared emergency, such funding to be determined by the Board of Finance, what accounts.
I would say such funding to be taken from an account as determined by the Board of Finance.
That's good.
An account or accounts,
You don't
I'd
want
say.
to limit it to one account.
Right, from accounts, parentheses, S, as determined by the Board of Finance.
Good
Okay.
grammar, George.
Thank you. So Betsy, did you get that?
Yes.
Could you read it back?
No.
I can read it back.
I love her honesty.
Guess you can't, huh?
Want me to read the whole thing? Can I just read the last?
We like your voice, though.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
You can read just the
Such
last.
from such funding.
Emergency, such funding to be taken from an account with an S as determined by the Board of Finance.
Do I have a second?
Stupendous.
Do I have a
Second
second?
it.
Made and seconded. Any discussion on that? I'll entertain the, call the
I'm
vote.
just curious,
I'm
what do
sorry.
you think it's gonna be, Jeff, money-wise?
Should we hear
George.
from,
Well, we're just gonna ask for.
George,
Yeah.
I
You
have
want the
no
update
idea.
before you want an update from
Yeah,
Scott?
we have no idea. We're just, yeah.
Concerned about it?
There's many different ways to go, and that really hasn't been figured out yet, which would be appropriate and quick. And we can discuss that in a minute. I'll
I
call
listened to the.
I'm sorry?
No, I just had a question about and maybe this will come up when we talk to Scott, but I listened to the governor's press conference today, and he was talking about federal funding, disaster relief stuff, and information that's needed for that and whatnot. And it seems like in the future that may be out there as well
Yeah,
to
yes,
reimburse and whatnot. And that's, yeah, I think.
So one of the first things we've done, we'll get through this. Let's get through this and we'll explain
That'll be-
what we're doing. I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? It carries. So next, we will move on to DOT property acquisition. We're going to do Scott under Selectmen's report. DOT property acquisition under new business. This, you understand, is it's some bureaucracy. The epitome.
Just writing it right, making
But,
it right.
Basically,
Requiring a right away, isn't it?
temporary right away, and they're paying us for a couple trees. that are-
$500.
May or may not be there right now.
They might have to pay to take them away. Yes, it's a good deal. Seal, sign it.
Such a deal.
Sign it.
So, I think we need a motion. Sorry, I'm getting this long time.
Do you have one written, so moved? Okay.
I will entertain a motion that we accept the agreement that is written with the Department of Transportation for temporary right-of-way.
So moved.
So can I have a second? Made and seconded. Any discussion on that one?
So, in all seriousness, as to the value, have we done anything to evaluate what we think the value of these items are?
It's a temporary. Cindy, it's been,
So basically what happened here when I met with them is the right-of-way is actually our town-owned property. And they are basically paying us rent to rent our own property. We can determine the value of this. We need to hire the appraiser ourselves. We can get paid more money. But let's remember, this is an 80-20 project and 20% of it is our money.
well, 80% is somebody's money, probably taxpayers' money.
But we're gonna pay an appraiser to determine probably not in a significant amount of an increase
How long are they gonna be there?
through the whole project. So, you know, it's our project, it's our property, and we've already paid the state to determine.
This is hard to wrap your head around sometimes. But it is BR, it's what has to happen with that's what they have to do legally.
Has the agreement been reviewed by council? Are there any issues with it?
Yes.
That just doubled the cost of the
Yes.
property.
Don't you with the theory of.
That just cost you $800.
We're actually losing money on this deal right now?
Correct.
Yeah, let's move so we can get into it.
Any other discussion?
Just kidding.
I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? And it carries. Thank you. Ah, here we are. First Selectmen's report. Well, nothing much has been going on. I think, quickly from my side, some of you were there. We met with the Region 15 focus group. Jason and Jennifer were there with us. Also, from the Board of Selectmen. There was a meeting in Town Hall. You heard about the Exit 14 DOT project. As you saw in the papers, there is a projected date. However, there is no funding at this time. So we'll see if the project gets done when they have a projected date, but that's on funding. The project is 100%, I'm told, state funded. There was a Heritage Village water, May 7th, I attended on the phone to elect officers, and it was the annual meeting. I am continuing to watch the current budget as we come near the end of the year, but that doesn't work anymore with this storm. So we were doing good, but we'll see what happens with the storm. We had intended to put flags on Main Street. You all know we were, and we were going to do it on the 15th of May, but we hope we can do it as soon as possible. But we have them, brackets. Thank,
Watch the weather.
maybe we.
Right, is it worth
I'll
it?
I know, and
Is it
this,
worth
I
it?
mean,
I
this
just-
was our plan for Memorial Day. I mean, I would say, listen, I know with everything going on, safety being first priority, and, you know, clearing roads, et cetera. But I do think, having gone through what we've gone through and will continue to go through, if we can get it done for Memorial Day
Oh,
parade
yeah.
and continue that, I think it would really, be
I may look,
a bit of a boon for the town emotionally from a morale standpoint.
If I was, you know, as things come to me, what I might do, I might ask John to remind me tomorrow as we're doing, maybe we can, I might try to reach out to the Boy Scouts to go along or something, because our manpower's down. I take
Right.
people,
Yeah.
you know,
What about veterans and roofs? I mean, they might be happy to
we can look into it.
come close to.
Yeah, haven't had a lot of time to think, wrap my head around it, but I'll entertain some, sending me some emails and give me some ideas,
I can make a call, but
Boy Scouts, something, because most of these.
Justin's
What's
ready to
that?
get up on a ladder.
I think I'd rather see the Boy Scouts on the ladder.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that, okay? Okay, okay,
You sign this waiver.
Cut the
please.
tape.
okay. With that, I will get a, Board of Selectmen update from Scott, on what's going on. We've been briefed and he can come up. Thank-
As you know from the meeting yesterday and from the events, we had a major 48 hours ago. At the time, the town of Southbury was approximately 100% without power. Many roads had some amount of damage and or debris spilled upon them. Currently, Eversource has restored up to 30% power. That is fluctuating minute by minute as they restore some circuits. They find that there's a problem and the power will go off. We were up over 50% at one point. They restored another circuit, and we had some circuits fall. Currently, they're restoring. We could be back up to above that number right now. I just don't know exactly how to. Eversource is in close coordination with our Department of Public Works, Fire Department, Police Department, and the Connecticut Department of Transportation. 15 Eversource crews arrived at 1600 this evening for continued operations throughout the night. They will be working in close coordination with those agencies, providing traffic control, debris removal, and clearing roads, and starting to restring and restore power by restoring some of the wires. Shelter operations at Pompey High School, we expect less than 5 guests tonight. We still have shelter operations going on at the senior center. Tonight will be the last night for the shelter operations at the senior center. We expect 2 individuals there tonight.
Scott, can you step closer to the mic?
Water truck, we have one 6,000-gallon water truck at Community House right now. It is self-service. There is a plaque there that can show you what you're doing, what to do. We also have one water manifold being delivered this evening at Pomprog Elementary School for other folks that want to come up here and get potable water. They can bring a 5-gallon jug or whatever they want to fill off of a fire hydrant. It's got a filter attached to it with a backflow preventer. Those 2 items were provided by Heritage Water for free. It's a community service what they've done. They've provided them several communities already. They've got another 6,000-gallon tank down in Oxford right now. Our priorities: safety for the citizens and our first responders. We do not want to create any more victims. We're working with Eversource to clear the roads and restore power. We're also capturing the cost within each department in case we do have a Stafford Act invocation with the state of emergency, so we can get reimbursed what the rates are provided for in the Act. The extent of the damage across the state at one time, there were 557 power poles down, 3,187 spools of wire, or spans of wire, which equates to about 90.5 miles, 171 damaged transformers, 1,571 trees. Those estimates were provided to us by Eversource from their damage assessment in this local area. That's the breadth of what they're dealing with, and that's why we are seeing now trickles of extra crews coming in as they start to clear debris and get power restored in other areas. We're receiving more attention here and getting more trucks and more crews in. We are continually working with our Eversource rep that is within our EOC, and she's providing a fantastic service by reaching out through her connections to provide us extra crews. For instance, last night at about 8 o'clock, we were told the crews were timing out at 10 o'clock last night. They were going to bed. She made a couple phone calls, got us 2 crews late last night, which we did team up with Department of Public Works and our police department, and cleared the complete Old Waterbury stretch from Main Street to exit 16.
When you say clear, that means they put the wires back?
No, sir, it was
Made a
open to
pass.
traffic.
Well,
They
that's
got,
a big deal.
it is, it was huge, and that was open to any traffic that needed to drive down that road. That was not a partial open, that was an open road, which was a long stretch, which is also one of their 3-phase circuits, which is a major circuit. So as soon as they energize that circuit, it will provide a huge amount of people back online.
Is that what they call part of the backbone?
It's one of the trunks, major trunks off the backbone.
Where is the backbone, actually?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you that. That's a mysterious Ethernet thing. No, it's,
That's
it's,
a proprietary secret. That's what they keep saying.
right now, they're working on several substations. They're working on Oldfield Road, which is gonna be another major trunk line that, once they get that back up, you're gonna see Main Street come up, which is gonna bring power back to old businesses. Currently, there are 2 poles and 2 transformers that were broken on Oldfield Road, which they were trying to get back up today. They've been working on that all day, 2 crews. They put another crew over there this evening, so we might see some movement on that tonight. I cannot guarantee that. We might, and if we do, maybe the lights will be on by the morning.
So you're still thinking noontime Saturday for,
I wouldn't say Scott is thinking.
Nah, I'm not thinking, that is strictly
that's
from
Eversource.
Eversource.
Eversource is
I don't know,
projecting.
I heard that. I
No,
just-
that is on their website.
Yeah.
You can currently go on their website for their outage maps and shows how many percentage-wise customers in
I'm there
Southbury.
right now. yeah.
Okay.
It said 62%, by the way.
It is still 62? Okay. There is another link on there that shows a projected power restoration by town in the states of Connecticut that they serve, and Southbury at the time, before I did come over here, showed Saturday at noon.
Yeah, Saturday, was still Saturday.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I
So-
saw.
Those figures are coming from them. We could see progress. One thing our rep did caution, when you say Saturday at noon, that's the major arteries and most of the trunks and the branches. You're gonna have your 1 and 2 lights out at the very end of those circuits that might not see power restoration for a little bit, because now it's just a light out as opposed to a major critical piece of infrastructure maybe in another town, which they've diverted crews now to help them
Right,
out.
the person who's lying to their house got hit.
But it is a catastrophe to them. So we are gonna be dealing with that it's my house. I get that, it is a catastrophe to you, but they have priorities which they're trying to get critical infrastructure up, such as our sewage plant, which is operating on a generator, and that's one of their critical infrastructure priorities that they're working on tonight.
The good news was Heritage Village was up most of it this morning.
Yes.
So that took a big load. It's going to take a big load off from
Our
people
our
medical.
services that we're
Yeah.
offering.
And the one traffic light at 15.
Is now, I heard
It's-
that.
Yeah.
That's
it's great.
fed from 60.
It's
On one
happening,
side.
it's happening that,
It's, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's it, really?
well, we're
Yeah,
looking,
it's- yeah.
Straight here, I
Not
can
Main,
have
not
15
Main
minutes.
Street,
One
we're
traffic
not Main
light.
and Main, but it's the traffic light coming off of exit 15.
Oh, okay.
you got other, are you all set?
I've got a ton, but that's reserved for your questions, and we could go on for a half
Okay.
hour. But
I wanted him to
don't
get through
think
his
it's
report, then, I'll open it up for, it's
It's a very
frankly,
dynamic situation.
there's a number of places we're looking to go, but one thing we do need to, and some people may be more fortunate than others, we're getting to, we're gonna need to open up the transfer station sooner or
Yeah,
later.
people are dumping their trash.
Yeah.
They've left a ton of it there.
Yeah, so I have a question, so, and Jason referenced it, Governor Malloy was in Brookfield today, and, you know, held his press conference and said that the state would help Brookfield recover. And I saw Representative O'Neill's, Facebook post, I think it was, you know, saying that he's here to help to all the first selectmen who reside in the 69th. If you're not getting a response, what have we heard from the state? What are they saying are the potential opportunities and resources? And, you know, how much longer do we wait to take Representative O'Neill and our other reps up on their offer to
We have been in
More
contact with Themis Region 5, which is our region.
Mhm.
They have provided any help we have requested. We've been in continuous contact with them throughout every day, constant phone calls back and forth. They have offered up any help and assistance we need, not money, but for resource help. I would defer for the
state
financial.
police
So-
supporting?
Absolutely,
So-
state police.
Okay, so frankly, I am, not just myself, but other people, I am truly disappointed that the governor would stop in Brookfield, drive across 84, and I'll say it for the record, and not stop into our EOC, one of the hardest hit towns in this disaster, and that's extremely disappointing. I do want to say for the record that Elizabeth Estes called me, and I want to thank her for that. She gave me her cell phone number, and said, if you need something from the federal level or whatever, reach out to me, whatever you need. Am I gonna call her on the phone? Am I gonna keep, right now, when I need something, I'll make that call. Senator Berthel, our state senator, was there in our EEOC that night. He came whatever roads he had to, and it was amazing. He did come. He sat with us, listening to us work, staying out of the way, but whatever you need, he was there. So at this point, what we're doing, I try to go through the normal channels. I use our resident trooper. We have our police held over. Our police is there. We got more state police as we needed. We have Middlebury helping us cover the town because they're in a little better shape, so they're coming in to help us, especially at midnight. So we have a good police presence to secure our businesses and our homes, so that, you know, people, you know, I don't know, we're out there. So we've been doing pretty well with our the correct channels, Demas. We've been making great progress. DOT has been in the OC, the center's open. Like I said, I opened that, I knew we declared a state of emergency truly before I would say there's more than 3 or 4 people in there, because I knew when I had, how bad it was that it was gonna be that. So we immediately went into it. Right now, I think from what I'm seeing is things are going pretty well. It takes time to get things geared up and get people geared up. More and more crews are coming in, and we're going to be reaching out to other towns have offered their services. Let me say this, you know, our situation here, Brookfield has a different situation with lives and buildings that have to be gone through. The crews we're going to be coming in from other towns are trained for what we do, chippers, chainsaws, things of this nature. I talked with Scott about this. We can't have people who don't know what they're doing or make a mistake and get injured, because that will suck our emergency services, our personnel to do that. And just to let you know how bad it can go wrong, there is a town who lost half their crew, or their crew.
Yeah, they lost a full crew, whether that's
It's a small,
3 or 4 guys due to an incident.
so that's the main thing is I know we want to go faster and faster and faster. We have to balance that with sleep, safety, because and there's been talk about different ways that Brookfield might have done it for whatever they're using some other resources. But a lot of towns have, Wolcott's reached out, Westport, West Haven.
West Hartford, they're actually coming in tomorrow with several pieces of equipment. Right after, like I said, the day after, and that morning, I've received calls from Fairfield, Westport, Danbury initially, Wolcott. I have the list somewhere around here. I think Reading, we were looking at some of the other towns. So you know,
Middlebury had their own set of issues, but they've all, you know, when we need, call us. We'll get what we can for you. And at that point, there's other avenues coming up that we can use in shared services, and we'll keep track of the money and the cost. And you know, these are people who can come in. They do this every day. This is like our crew. So you know, this is we're in pretty good shape.
Usually for the cost aspect, when they do invoke the Stafford Act, if you've got accurate and detailed records, what falls under the Stafford Act, you can then support with your records to submit for the refunds then. What we're going to do is submit it to the region. It's going to go up to the state. The state will aggregate all that and submit it to the federal process. It's going to take a while.
Have there been any reports from our emergency services, police, fire, EMS, in terms of specific injuries either related to, either related directly to the tornado or those we weren't able to get to due to blocked roads, et cetera?
We have not reported any fatalities. There were, that night, there were several people that were transported to the hospital due to different injuries. I don't know, I don't believe it was related to anything from first responders. I believe it was from the initial impact of the initial incident.
Trees crushing people.
There are several people that were trapped in their cars that had to be extricated out. Like I said,
There was a rollover.
there was a roll. Fortunately, there was
Yeah, I know
nobody
somebody got
critical.
Were
but-
you at the special, you were, okay.
Yes.
It's a chainsaw accident too, that's covered anywhere, or?
I have not.
There wasn't a chainsaw accident. No, there was a puncture wound from debris.
Yeah.
So all in all, I know it's a natural disaster, and we're making pretty good progress for the first 48 hours of where we are. And when we get into it, right now, it's too much to put together right now of everything that's gone on, but I think we're seeing as good a situation as we can be, and I don't want to say it's good, but I'm pretty, we're all getting tired, and it's tough. It's tough as you get more tired, but we're pretty good, and I'd like to get this executive session done, back out and then back over and try to get that squared away, because it's getting dark and there's screws out, but I want to see where we're at.
For the record, just so it's on the record, to Scott and the folks who you're working with, John, and the entire Public Works team, thank you.
Thank you.
I would say I don't know when the shelter is, if anybody's been over to there, Red Cross has been a phenomenal job.
Absolutely.
So we want to, I don't think we'll have time tonight, but or if you do, if it's open, just take a look around and do that. If, right now you won't see as many people at the center. If you happen to want to, stop by and see the festivities, feel free.
The gentleman's name is Al Sakadis, and he said that Waterbury Hospital, Scott Furr, and Ian Furr, Scott's son, Nancy Rue, who's the food server from the hospital, Phil Ulrich, our very own Phil Ulrich, and a number of nurses that he couldn't identify, as well as 2 volunteers in particular, Lisa and Chris Trupp, who were phenomenal helpers.
There's a number of,
A lot of people, but he pointed them out specifically and wanted me to
How
tell
many
you.
people took advantage of the shelter up?
There were
Scott?
The shelter itself overnight was 4 individuals one night, 6 another night. However, during the day, I think they counted a throughput of 326 people.
yesterday.
Today, there was, at 2 different times when I was talking to Mr. McLiberty, there was 20 people up at the high school at one point, and there were 30 people at another point. And what they're offering up there is showers, the pool is open,
Charging.
the basketball courts. It's like a community center where
Tremendous
you can go
amount
and
of
decompress. Tremendous, yeah. It's locked down a little bit, but it's a great opportunity for people just to go up there and decompress a little bit. You've got air conditioning, you've got hot showers, multiple bathrooms up there. You got a pool, so it's a good deal, and hot meals.
Are
They'll be
all
br-
cell towers working now, or are they, some of them were going off?
There's some degradation in cell service.
Is that because batteries are running out, or what?
I don't think they're charged by batteries anymore. I think they've got some small generators run by a small propane tank. So,
Propane's running out, maybe?
yeah.
I
Now,
haven't
with
been
their,
affected by that, but
Sprint's been degrading every
Are
day.
those
It's
on
been a little worse.
the sort of a priority list as well for Eversource to try to get those up?
That is according to the cell towers, and the area that they've got, I don't know if we're high on the priority list, because we are on a edge, so we might be getting some bleed over from some other edges. I don't know.
So, yeah, and as much as what the standard priorities are, sometimes it's changed. One of the things we need to do is get those towers back up or make it accessible, and that was something.
We did some efforts yesterday to make a couple of the towers accessible if they needed to come up and refuel, and we cleared a couple of paths yesterday.
I heard a rumor that the National Guard showed up in Brookfield. Is there any truth to that, or is that just a?
I had no, I
had
could
no
neither
idea.
confirm nor deny that.
They were doing a lot, like I said, the situations, when I alluded to the difference, they're doing house to house, knocking doors, building damages, major building and searches. So, that probably is part of what they're doing, I don't know. But it's like, well, how come one's not here and how come they're not getting that? You have to fit what they're doing to the situation.
I didn't realize they had more structural damage than we did.
Different kind of,
kind of damage.
They had a macro, they called it a macro burst.
Yeah, so I'm not, I don't know what
still
their
100
determination
mile per hour
is, and
floodplains.
I can't confirm they were there. But anyway, thank you, sir.
Just out of
Thank you.
curiosity,
Thanks, Scott.
when was the last time a tornado hit Southbury? Has there ever been one?
That's arguable.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
I'm sorry to delay.
It's all right.
George gave us his report.
Okay, thank you, Scott. I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session.
Liaisons, no?
Move,
Can
I'm
we,
sorry?
Jeff, can we do it both motions and then just John leaves and the other one comes in? I'm just trying to,
They're different people coming to each one, but I think you can do two motions.
and then we can just stay out there. So we're gonna make a motion to go into executive session for two purposes. The first executive session is gonna be contract negotiations with respect to the Covanta contract, and John Cattell, Jeff Tinley, and Cindy Harrison will be invited into that executive session. And the second executive session will be the discussion of preliminary draft of an agreement with SES regarding, what's the date of the meeting that we did this before?
March 3rd.
Right, March 3rd.
As already discussed in prior executive sessions and for the reasons set forth in prior minutes, dated March 3rd, and if not March 3rd, to be corrected by Betsy later on.
I'll second whatever he said.
And Tim Baldwin and Jeff Tinley will be invited to that portion of the executive session, and Cindy Harrison.
I want what he has.
Advice from council, we can discuss in that second executive session.
And to discuss written advice of counsel.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
I second it. He said.
Whatever
All
that
in
was.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries.